Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach,
I'm Pepper.
and for today's last call, where we give our CHIPPI rating of a game, we're going to look at Point Salad. Point Salad's a game that I first heard of during watching the Dice Tower. It was one that they were all kind of saying was kind of their pick for possible game of the year, or at least top filler game for that they'd kind of seen in a while. So I was really interested in it almost immediately and couldn't wait to try it out myself.
I first heard of it when it arrived.
And you've enjoyed it ever since, maybe.
Maybe. We'll see.
We will see. So, if you haven't watched one of these before, we're going to be using our CHIPPI rating to rate out the game. If you want to see how that's determined, please check out our other video linked below on our CHIPPI rating scale. So first we'll talk about the core game mechanics. What did you think about those in Point Salad?
It's pretty straightforward. Just draw a card or draw two cards if you're drawing the ingredients and lay them in front of you.
Yeah, I thought it was... I rated the mechanics about a 7.75. I thought it's a really unique way to use double-use cards or double-sided with different uses on them, either to score points at the end or to work towards completing those goal cards to score the points.
Yeah. I gave it 7.5, so pretty close there.
Pretty close. So yeah, and then the history of the game. I think we've played this kind of at least 10 plus times.
Yeah, I
each.
have that as well. 10
So,
times.
I think every time it's gotten a little bit better, and I don't know if there's a strategy to it or not.
Yeah, there's just so many
Right.
different ways to score.
Right,
in the
and
game.
it changes from game to game. One game, having a lot of carrots could be really great, and then the next
Yeah.
game, carrots might not score you any points. But, yeah. So, what do you think about the time investment of the game?
Setting up the game, I thought there's a decent amount of investment since you have to separate a certain amount of each type of card.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's maybe a little too much for the length of the actual game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for what the game is, it can be a little long. If you always play with the same player count, you can kind of keep them separate, I guess.
Yeah.
But then you're going to have the same goal cards in every game you play,
Yeah.
which, I don't know, I think you'd like to change it up a little bit each game
Yeah.
so that you can't expect, the card where you get, 12 points for having, a set of all the different vegetables and, just kind of changes it up from game to game, which is really nice. But yeah, otherwise, outside of that, the setup is relatively quick.
Yeah, I gave it a 7.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 because I think still the time investment you put into the game, I think you get enough back out of it, and it's a short enough game where you don't ever feel like, oh, this is going on way too long. More than likely, you're going to feel like, oh, that was it? Well, I want to play this again, now that
Yeah.
I kind of
It's a
understand.
great one to play multiple times in
Right.
a sitting.
Right, and in a two-player game especially, you have just the right amount of cards where you can sort them into two decks and then, play one game and then immediately play a second game,
Yeah.
which can kind of be a problem if you win one and then the other person wins the other game and you don't really have a third game ready, but
Yeah.
you should still have them separated so you can just choose one of those decks to do it again.
Yeah.
It's also, I think, a pretty easy one to teach new people with a very short rule set.
Yeah, definitely.
So the investment of time in teaching the game or learning the game is very minimal, and I think that's what makes it feel even better, especially for newer players. I would think the fact that you can set it up on the table, and then basically they just have to be able to read the cards, and they know how it's played.
Symbology is very clear on how to score.
Yes, for sure.
Speaking of symbology, what did you think of the art and production components?
The presentation, I thought I rated it an 8 out of 10 for that because there's not much to the game, but I don't think there needs to be. I think the box insert is pretty great. It fits the cards in there really nicely. I don't know if it needed the 2 spots, but
Yeah.
I think it definitely works. And then the artwork on the cards I think is really colorful, which is something I really enjoy. It makes me want to actually eat my vegetables.
For
The
once.
brightness, the brightness of all those cards.
Yeah, I agree. Those probably some of the best colors I've seen in a game.
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely bright.
Very yummy looking.
Right. If you look at the table as the game's being played and people have those out in front of them, it definitely pops on the table, different colors, and I think it could definitely pull someone into kind of wanting to play it or
pretty
wanting to learn about
approachable theme as well. I mean,
it. Right. Yeah. There's nothing. It's not like a fantasy
Salad.
theme or anything, so it's one that you can pretty much introduce anyone to, and they will understand the theme. They won't be like, well, I don't know about this farmer pioneer theme, or like I said, a fantasy theme or something that some people just aren't
Dragons.
into, space or something. So, what'd you give for a rating on that?
I give that an 8.5.
I think it's pretty solid, and the box itself is not
Some games,
not overly large, which
some
is.
games just have a huge box.
Mhm.
Looking at you, sushi roll.
But yeah, so I think it's about the perfect size.
Yeah.
Could maybe be a tad bit smaller, but it's a lot better than having it be a ticket to ride size box when it doesn't need to be. Then getting it off the shelf, my preference rating is probably a 7.5 out of 10. I would think for preference over other games. It's definitely, if I'm looking for a filler game, it can. The good thing about it is the player count. It can go from 2 to 6, I believe. So some games won't go that high. So if you're looking for a filler game, you have 5 or 6 people. It's a great choice to play or pick up off the shelf. But if you're looking for something that has a little more meat to the game, it's probably not going to be one you're going to pull off the shelf. It's not going to be your first choice of pulling it off. And typically, I personally like to, games with a little more meat on them. But this one for a filler game is pretty solid. So 7.5 for me.
Yeah, I gave it an 8.75. This is probably one of my top go-to card games. Probably top 3.
Yeah, it's a solid
But
game.
like you said, if you're looking for something a little deeper, heavier, it's probably not for you.
Right, it's not the game for you, but for a filler game, it's a solid game, and I would definitely recommend, adding it to your collection if you need more filler games, more of those short 15 to 30 minute games for various different amounts of people, 2 to 6 players.
Yeah.
And then it factor. Did you think it had any bit of an it factor? Does it stand out in any certain ways?
It's a great card game, but it is still just kind of a card game. I don't know. It doesn't feel that special, other than looking great, but it just seems like another card game.
Right, yeah. And that's why I gave it a 5 out of 10 for that. Because it's still a very quick card game. And it's one that you can teach in just a couple minutes, if it even takes that long. And the attractiveness of the game, like you said, the colorfulness is just, I don't know, really delicious looking. Especially for a salad game.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave it a 5 as well on it factor.
Yeah. Overall, I think that leads me to about a 7.9 for the game out of 10.
Overall, that gives me an even 8.
Yeah, so sitting right about the same spot with our ratings on that. Like I said, it's a solid game. It's a filler you should definitely add to your collection if you're looking for some more filler games.
I'd recommend playing it after dinner, before dinner, instead of salad.
right. Instead of having
play
your
the
salad
game.
at dinner, just do your point salad. But yeah, it lives up to its name, where you're just getting points from many different areas. The double-sided cards make it I think the way they work is just really unique and nice, and the ability to even, once you figure out a gold card just isn't going to work for you, you can just flip it into a vegetable for other to fill other gold cards.
Yeah, I like that.
Really
So you're
nice.
not locked in.
Yeah,
to
you
one
never feel like, there's nothing you can do. You almost always are feeling, except maybe like the last turn when you have to pick stuff up, you may feel like, oh yeah, I'd rather not pick these up because they might give me negative points.
Yeah.
So then, but otherwise, no, it's a solid game, and I definitely recommend going out and getting it.
Yeah, I would too.
So, well, if you want to know anything further about point salad, please check out our other videos below and ask us anything in the comments below. Other than that, thanks for watching. Keep on nibbling.